Hello. Today we're going to talk about how to use one of the most effective research tools for doing your dissertations, and also if you're doing history or some sort of subject like that at university, this will also be very helpful for them. So what we're going to look at today specifically is something called Hansard. Now Hansard is basically just a online resource that has every single word spoken in the House of Commons ever. So it's very easy to find. Just Google Hansard, it will come up. So it is a searchable database basically where you can look through all the sittings of the House of Parliament and the House of Lords and various subcommittees to see basically what politicians have been saying on the official record for the last couple of hundred years. Now, obviously, Parliament goes back quite a few hundred years, and they're trying to digitise as much as possible. But the it does go back to 1800. The stuff that is slightly older because it's just been basically scanned in. Some of it is a bit iffy, but in general, the recent stuff is perfectly fine, and the stuff going back to the Second World War is also pretty usable. So, how do we actually use Hansard? Now, it is pretty straightforward. You see when you come onto the website that you'll get a page like this. Generally speaking, the stuff that you'll want is mostly in the House of Commons. The House of Lords do have some interesting debates, and if you're maybe looking at some kind of moral questions or legal questions, then the House of Lords can be quite good to look at what a bishop was saying or what a justice or chief justice was saying. That can be quite good, but generally speaking, most of the stuff that you want to look at is in the House of Commons. So searching the House of Commons is easy. It's all colour coded as well. So House of Commons is always green, and if you ever go to the Houses of Parliament, you see that as well. All the stuff to do with the House of Commons is green, and all the stuff to do with the House of Lords is red. So if you want to search for things in the House of Commons, then there are specific things that you can do. Now, there are basically three main ways that you can search Hansard. One is just to search it for specific terms. So the first thing to do is just hit the search bit so that you can refine it by date, and this will take you up to this page. So you can see here that there's a from and an until bit. So if you're looking for recent stuff, then you want to keep this quite up to date. If you're looking for historical stuff, obviously you want to keep it quite specific within the years you're going to search. So we're going to look for a few things from the immediate pre-war period. So from 1938 to the outbreak of war, which was of course on the 3rd of September 1939. So if we wanted to search for something, say we wanted to find out about the Royal Navy, we can specifically just search for the Royal Navy, and it will bring up any direct mentions of the Royal Navy in Parliament. And you can see that it's done that, and it says there's 292 references, which means it's 292 times that someone has specifically said the words Royal Navy in Parliament. And then there are 68 debates with the title Royal Navy, because they debate the Royal Navy obviously quite a lot, and 68 written answers, which means that a member of Parliament has sought some specific information from the government, and so they will submit a written question. Now, written questions are probably the best way to find that information in Parliament. However, if you want a good soundbite on the news, you can't really use a written question. So possibly don't get used as effectively today as they did in the past, because in the past the Parliament obviously wasn't shown on the news and little clips of it weren't shown. So if you wanted to make a point, you could make it in the newspapers, and so written answers are quite good. Nowadays, they're less good because they're less grandstandy. Okay, so that's obviously quite a lot of information, and you're not going to wade your way through all of them. So what you can do, if you think, right, well, I know that they were debating the Royal Navy from a book I read in February, March, and you can just click on the graph and then highlight it, and it will bring up just those specific things. You'll see that once it works, you'll see that the date range has moved. So it's gone from the start of 1938 to the start of January 1939 to the middle of April. And so we've got a lot fewer examples. So you can look at these individually and see if there's anything that is specific to what you're looking for. Now, that is obviously quite vague, and if you type in just a general term, then you're going to end up with a huge amount of stuff. So there are more specific ways to search Hansard, and I will show you them right now. So the first way you can do is that you can find a specific sitting. Now, sitting just means what was going on for that entire day in Parliament. So today is the 10th of June, so you can't find anything on that, but you can find the stuff for yesterday. So all the stuff that was published yesterday is all in, so you can see the things they were talking about yesterday in Parliament on the 9th of June about the EU and opening up after coronavirus and things like that. And it's a very useful resource for journalists and kind of researchers and things to find out specifically what was said. And if you pay attention to that, then you can, especially if you're an MP yourself, then you can find out maybe whether the government has contradicted itself. And so it's a very useful resource in that. But we're looking at it in terms of things that will be useful for a research. So we're going to look at a specific sitting on a specific day to find out what they were up to then. So, as we know, war is declared on the 3rd of September 1939. So, if you scroll down, you see that's all the things that were talked about in Parliament that day. And what we're wanting to find is Prime Minister's announcement. Now, when the Prime Minister comes to speak specifically, it usually means they're saying something of reasonable importance. So if we click on that, we'll get Prime Minister's announcement. So here goes Mr. Chamberlain, so Neville Chamberlain, speaking on this, and this is him saying all about how that, he didn't do very well in Parliament the day before, which is true. 2nd of September was not a good day for Neville Chamberlain. And this is all about the communique they've sent to the German ambassador, and then the immortal line that the Germans haven't withdrawn from Poland, that was the final note. No such undertaking as to withdraw from Poland was received by the time stipulated, and consequently this country is at war with Germany. So you can see that you found a very important bit of history, just a few words that is very good. You also see in this debate that when it's an important debate such as this, they let the other kind of key members of Parliament speak. So at the moment, Boris Johnson's obviously the Prime Minister, so if Boris Johnson was making an announcement, the next person that would get to speak would be Keir Starmer. The leader of the Labour Party at that time was actually Clement Attlee, but at this point Clement Attlee wasn't well, so Arthur Greenwood deputised for him, so he is speaking as deputy leader, as it were, of the Labour Party. And then after that, the next person that gets to speak is the person that is in charge of the next most important party, which is the Liberals. And so that's, or the representative of the Liberals, that's Archibald Sinclair. So he comes and says a little bit about what he views, and basically everybody's just saying that they agree with the Prime Minister. And we've got Churchill, who is feeling very vindicated because he's been saying that we need to stand up to Germany for a very long time, and finally he's right. So this is all about almost his victory speech, and it sets the tone for things that will come later when he becomes Prime Minister. So if you know that there's been a specific important event that has happened, then searching for specific sittings can be very important. So if you knew that, something like the fall of Singapore happened, or the attack in Pearl Harbor, you can look at the kind of days following that to see what the parliamentarians have been saying about it. So that can be a very good way to search Hansard. And the other way that you can do is that you can click on Find Debates. Now, if you want to find a specific topic, then searching for a debate about that topic can be very important and very helpful, because that will mean that everyone will be talking about this specific subject. So, as we know, the British spent a lot of time dealing with or trying to establish alliances with France and Russia and various other people in the interwar period, and so we will have a wee look to see if we can find some debates about this very thing. So, what debates did they have about France? So you can see it had quite a few discussing kind of alliances, and so if you want to find out about the alliances that Britain had, Great Britain, France and Russia, a debate about that seems like it might be quite a good thing. So having a look to see what they've been saying about that. And if we go in, we can see that there's a question by a guy called Vivian Adams, and he's asking about the prospects and the realities of a Russian-French-British alliance. And then the Prime Minister comes in and he speaks about it and gives some detail, and then various other people's chip in. So that is a good place to start. Now, when you're doing any kind of history or any kind of subject like this, like modern studies or whatever, having specific direct quotations is something that shows that you have really worked hard. It's shown that you've used your initiative and that you are able to research effectively. People that publish history books or kind of journalists that work on contemporary stories, they spend a lot of time looking through Hansard if they're doing some kind of topic that's related to politics, because it is an official record, and any time that you quote from this, you are quoting from a primary source, and you can make very good analytical and evaluative comments about what people are saying, and you can use the kind of evidence that you might have of something that happens, and then go back and look at about what some MP said they thought was going to happen, or what they were trying to do, and then kind of contrast and compare these two things to show that you're actually properly, effectively evaluating. Another thing that you can do that is quite good with this is if you read in a book or something, or see somewhere that there's a very interesting quote said by someone and you think, oh, they said that in Parliament, but I don't exactly know when, then what you can do is that you can actually, using search terms on Hansard, find it. So we put the phrase that we're looking for in quotation marks, so right on the beaches, and then we write spoken by, all one word, and then a colon, and then we obviously know that fight on the beaches, spoken by Winston Churchill. So if we search for that, I don't want to do it from then because that's not correct. So we want to make sure that we're searching within the period when Churchill was around. So we should hopefully, if it works, be able to find that specific speech when he said that specific thing. Hopefully. or not, as the case may be. Oh, there we go. Right, so we have one reference, 4th of June 1940, so if we click on that, we will find Churchill's very famous "We shall fight them on the beaches" speech. If we actually find a little bit, there we go. So we shall fight in France, we shall fight in the seas and oceans, blah blah blah, we shall fight in the beaches and all that kind of stuff. So if you find in a book, or if you hear on the television or something like that, somebody saying a phrase and you think, oh, that's a really good phrase, but I want to make sure that I'm quoting it properly and I want to see what else they said in the speech, then you can search specifically for that by just going to Hansard, putting it in quotation marks, and if you know who said it, that's fine. If you don't know who said it, you can just search in quotation marks and you'll probably find it anyway. You'll probably find if you just search for "fight on the beaches" that quite a lot of people will have said it in Parliament, because everyone in Parliament loves to pretend that they are Churchill, so I'm sure loads of people will have said that. Okay, so that's basically Hansard. That is how we use it and how we search for it effectively. The one other thing that I would say that is very, very important is if you find a really good quote or a really good piece of information and you think, oh, that's excellent, please, please, please write down where you found it. So that speech that we just looked at was the 4th of June 1940, spoken by Churchill. So if you find that, oh, it's "find them on the beaches" speech, and that's excellent, make sure you write down exactly where, when it was said and who said it, because obviously famous quotes like that Churchill one are easy to find, but you might find a slightly more obscure MP saying something that's very relevant to the thing that you're researching at that time, and then you don't write it down, and then the next week you've forgotten the exact phrasing of what the person said and the exact person that said it, and then you can't find that again, and there is nothing more frustrating than that. So as soon as you find a good thing, or even if you find a thing, oh, that might be useful, write down who said it and when they said it, because then you'll be able to go back, and that goes with all your research, that if you find a good quote in a book, write down the quote and which book you got it from and which page you got it from, so that you have a note of all these things. I know you can keep these notes on your phone, or you can keep them saved on OneDrive or whatever you find most convenient, but please, please, please do make sure that you save the things that that you find, so that you're able to have a note of them. Because if it comes to you writing your dissertations or writing essays and you think, oh, there was that really good quote, and then you can't find it, you'll be exceptionally annoyed with yourself.